Hello and welcome everyone to another inventRight TV show. This is one of my favorite types of shows. We have one of our students on, and we interview our students sometimes that have licensed products, but it's pretty rare that we have their licensee on. But before I introduce the student and introduce the licensee, I want you guys to watch this video so you can see Ingrid's story, and then we'll get into the weeds and have a bunch of fun with it, guys. So here we go. Let's look at this video.
My name is Ingrid Morey. My first grandson was born 3.5 years ago, and during that time, obviously, there were a lot of diaper changes. We all know that when a diaper needs to be changed, you have no control of the setting. I really came to not like putting diaper cream on because we end up getting more on ourselves than on the child sometimes. So I said there has to be something to do to get the diaper cream off and do this in a hygienic way. Once I started researching, I realized there was nothing out there that solved this problem. So I was excited to have a solution. Finger shields are super easy to put on and take off. Now you can apply diaper cream, diaper ointment without getting it anywhere except on the baby's bum, and your finger stays clean. As the designer and the inventor of the product, I see so many applications for parents, caregivers, any setting, any environment, anytime. You've got an easy, clean solution. I'm very excited to be partnering with Baby Bretza in this process because really their philosophy is in line with mine. We want to help parents. We want to do what's better for the baby.
Okay, we're back. Ingrid, we have Ingrid Morey and we have David Contract. Ingrid Morey is an inventRight student. David Contract is with Baby Bretza. And he's what's your title, David? Is you a marketing manager? Or?
I'm the marketing team lead, kind of like the VP of marketing and business development.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, did your company do that video with Ingrid? It's so cool how you guys work with inventors.
We did actually, because, it's really important to us if we're going to license a product, we want to bring the inventor's story to life because, there's power behind that. And it really draws out the problem and the solution. And that's really, what our brand's all about, is solving problems for today's parents. So, by telling Ingrid's story, it actually helps us market the product.
Cool. How I want to start this off is to talk a little bit about that. It's Ingrid, it just didn't just happen, did it? And it almost didn't happen. And so I talked to you guys a couple of days ago. And so I don't know if David wants to talk. David talked about it before. Maybe David, you talked about how this almost didn't happen.
No, it's really a great story, and it's actually really educational for your students, which is, no response does not mean no. It may just mean person you reached out to is really busy and missed it. And that's exactly what happened. Ingrid reached out to me after one of my inventRight webinars, I think from March or April 2020, right after the lockdowns went into effect. And she emailed me and I just didn't read it. And I deleted it by accident, obviously. And a few months later, she decided to give me another shot. And thank you, Ingrid, for giving me a second opportunity. And I responded probably within a day or so, which is my norm, but sometimes I get overwhelmed by emails. And I was like completely interested in her product. There was a really clear problem and solution, and it was unique and differentiated. And it really met all of our criteria to at least take the next step and have a discussion. And if she had just taken my no response to mean no, then her product, which is right here, finger shields, would never have happened. So I do think there's an important lesson in that.
Ingrid, can inventRight and your coach Ryan take some sort of responsibility for teaching you to be persistent?
Teaching me to be persistent, and really the whole process I've always really been passionate about coming up with ideas, and I always said, it would be great to invent a proper product, but I had no idea what that meant, what was involved. So I started by reading the book, One Simple Idea, and then really learning the 10 steps. And then that's when I signed up with the inventRight program and started working with Ryan, and really his persistence on keeping me on track and reminding me, hey, you need to go through this process, really kept me going. And, there was a lot of things going on in my life at the time. So sometimes I stopped it, but I always came back and knew I was going to do it. And it was considering and connecting with David that really brought everything together.
You mentioned that to me. You said at times you weren't a model student and you kind of started and stopped a little bit, but you kept going, and you did have that persistence that we teach our students to have. Otherwise, you wouldn't have sent that second email. Oh, well, he didn't respond. Whatever. I guess he doesn't like me. He's not interested. God knows what inventors think, and you kept moving forward. So this isn't a little deal, guys. Just tell me, like, this is not a little deal. This isn't like some little products going to sell over here in a few stores. This is a big deal to me. Is that, David, would you say that's true? This is even for you guys, this is a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Obviously, and we've talked about this on some other webinars. We look to products that truly address a real pain point, a big pain point, right? And do it in a unique, differentiated way. And I think I've shared this. A lot of inventors come with ideas that are too narrow and too niche. Ingrid's, on the other hand, was like, wow, this is amazing. This affects, babies, from 0 to 3, because that's when you use diapers. And after a little bit more research, we discovered that 2/3 of parents use diaper ointment or diaper cream, and 2/3 of them are bothered. So long story short, there's 20 billion diaper changes a year in the US, and there's about 8 or 9 billion of bothered parents using diaper ointment. And I'm like, that's what I'd classify as a big opportunity. So we were very excited on many levels, but one of them was the numbers, which is if you can penetrate a market size of 8 or 9 billion usage occasions in one country, that's huge. Mm-hmm. And now we can take this product and roll it out around the world. So now we're going to magnify that 8 or 9 billion by, I don't know, 4 or 5-fold. So yeah, we're very excited.
Yeah, I mean, it's common sense to assume that a disposable product is going to earn quite a bit of money because people are going to keep repurchasing it. At the same time, we didn't talk about this, guys, before, but it seems environmentally friendly because it's footprint. It's not a large, wipe or something like that. It's smaller. So I think my opinion is it's kind of more environmentally friendly too.
Yeah, and actually, Ingrid can talk about it, but that's definitely something that she brought up, early on, which is how do we make this a little more sustainable and eco-friendly? When the core idea was disposable, which is the convenience, and right. And doing research, and I always encourage your students to research the need state, research the consumer behavior to put together their selling story on why their product is necessary. We learned that if you're using diaper cream and you're trying to clean it off your fingers, you're probably using 2 or 3 baby wipes and or water, which is obviously a scarce resource. So if you just look at a finger shield and you just measure it versus a baby wipe, one of these has 50% less material than one baby wipe. So if you're using 2 or 3 baby wipes versus one finger shield, you're creating more garbage. So the finger shield is more environmental and more sustainable. And that's an important part of the story because millennials, who are the majority of today's parents, care about this. And first reaction to a disposable product is, oh my God, I'm not interested. It's disposable. It's terrible for the environment. But then we point out it's 50% less material. People are like, oh, that's good.
Right, it is.
And we also realize that, convenience drives this. So even though we all want to be eco-friendly and eco-conscious, 96% of diapers used today are still disposable. So we have to balance things in our minds and in our marketing.
Well, we have to do better, and this is doing better. It's not perfect, but it's doing better.
Yeah.
Ingrid?
I was going to add just with that, with David saying even 2 or 3 wipes, even if you only use 1 wipe, which is kind of how I came up with the concept, I was starting to use 1 wipe on my finger as my finger shield when applying diaper cream. This is still about half of 1 wipe.
And those things aren't easy to tear apart. I mean, it's not like you're going to take scissors and cut it. And then, is that how it came up?
Right.
Like you're just using it that way. And then you're like, there's something here.
Ingrid, you wrapped your finger with the wipe.
Literally, right? I took the diaper wipe and stuck it over my finger as I was putting on the ointment, which kind of led to the growth of the finger shield.
But Andrew, the first prototype, because I remember after our first conversation, I asked Ingrid if she had a prototype, and she said that she had hand stitched some together, made out of diapers, and she had sent a few of those to us. Literally you could see the stitches.
Wrote it on my sewing machine. Took a diaper because I knew I wanted the non-woven fabric. And even went to the fabric store, they didn't have any thin non-wovens. Okay, the diaper is really the fabric I'm looking at. So cut apart diapers, which was a very tedious process because the insides just spread everywhere. And then use that outer layer. And that's how I made the prototype and sewed it on the sewing machine. And the final product is really the identical size and shape to what my prototypes were.
But now making a prototype, like they're obviously not going to sew each one of these. And so David, was there any issues with getting this thing manufactured? There always is some issues, but were there some issues to figure out?
Well, of course, you're right. We weren't going to hand stitch these.
Doesn't make it seal it either all the way.
Fingers are sitting there sewing in her.
Yeah, that would be a lot of stitching. So no, I mean, we have a great, one of the reasons why you would license a technology or a product to a company like ours or any other brand company is because we have that know-how. So we know how to make products. So, my team, once they saw Ingrid's prototypes, were like, all right, we're going to make this like diapers, right? Diapers are heat sealed. So 2 pieces of fabric with high heat are sort of almost melted together in a nice way. And there's machinery that does that. So we found a partner who has that expertise, explained what we wanted to do. They costed it, but we did have to go through many samples. I don't remember exactly how many, but it probably was, 4 to 6 to get it right. And, heat sealing is it's not a hard process, but it's, you have to do it right and you want it to look nice. And I think, here's an example of the product. And when I talk about heat sealing, it's the top layer is fused to the bottom layer and, it's fused and there's little pins in the tool. So it leaves a little bit of an indentation around the edge. We wanted that to be perfectly even. We wanted the pins to be to leave the indentation, but not a hole. And it took us a couple stabs at it to get it right. And we got it right. And they look great. And
I love
honestly,
this.
They're really soft. Like I know you guys can't feel them, but they're really soft.
And I want to add to it that seam, even though it looks like a seam, it's completely soft and you don't feel it or notice it. So when you touch it, it doesn't feel like there's a seam. And then the bottom layer is totally sealed, and David would know what it is, but that's what makes it completely grease proof.
But no, you could be scratchy. Babies aren't fussy at all. They're okay with the scratchy wipe. Yeah, they're okay.
I will tell you, actually, one of the biggest questions we had to answer was, should this, Ingrid will probably remember this, should this cover 1 finger or 2 fingers?
Oh, okay.
And I was very, I was strongly felt it should cover 1 finger, and our CEO thought it should be 2. And I was like, well, maybe we should do research. And we did. We talked to a couple hundred consumers and asked them, diaper cream users, do you typically apply diaper ointment with 1 finger or 2 fingers?
Such a weird question.
Yeah, it's an odd question, but the data was very clear. I think it was like, excuse me, 2/3 or 3/4 use 1 finger, because the reason why is you're very precise with 1 finger and you limit the mess. And
if you need more, you can move it around.
Right. So
what I absolutely love about this example is, and it's great, guys. So Ingrid just did this very big deal with David with baby Bretza, and she didn't know this stuff about the heat sealing and all that. She sewed it, and they figured that out. So it's a great example that when inventors think they need to know every little thing about how this thing is manufactured, they don't. Now, sometimes there can be issues and you work with the company and you figure it out. Sometimes you can't figure it out. In this case, it was not a problem at all. But Ingrid didn't know that. David still licensed it. I think this is a great example of that. People ask about it all the time. People sometimes they feel like they need to go out and spend $5,000 or $10,000 on a prototype, and it's the prototype's not even made how you guys would make it. So it's like, whoa, you didn't need to do that. Now sometimes you do, but very rarely do you. So
yeah, I would say from my perspective, the prototype's not that important. What's much more important is the problem that you're trying to solve, the size of that problem, the severity of that problem, and the uniqueness of your solution, and proving that it actually solves the problem. That's if you're, to me, as you know, sort of head of business development who licenses technologies and products and markets them, if you get those things right, our manufacturing, research and development teams, they'll figure out how to bring it to life. I'm not worried about that. I need to make sure that the market opportunity is big enough to justify using the resources to act on the opportunity. So I would encourage your students, focus on those front end things. You know, make sure your idea solves the problem and it's manufacturable, but you don't have to figure out how to manufacture it.
Right.
That's what your partner will figure out.
And I think that was something, though, for you having this prototype in hand, you and your team were able to really put it on and go, this really works, just as marketed. And I'd said,
yeah, I mean, it does help to bring it to life, but if you don't get those foundational things right, then the prototype will fall flat.
Yeah.
So, and again, to your point, the prototype can be crude. It can be, like Ingrid did, stitched at home on a sewing machine. It doesn't have to be perfect.
And it wasn't grease proof.
That's right. That's right. And it didn't actually repel the disappointment, but we got the idea.
I want to ask you, Ingrid, we like keeping it real here at InventRight. And so, this wasn't like you read our book and then you signed up with our program and then you licensed something overnight, was it? I mean, you stuck with this, you had ups and downs. Sometimes you weren't really doing some work and then you came back and you did the work, but you stuck with it. So can you talk about the ups and downs a little bit, the timeline?
I think, I originally came up with the idea 4 years ago, but at that time I was running a very successful nonprofit and very busy. So I didn't have a lot of time to pursue it, but I just knew it was there. And I had previously come up with other ideas as well, but I knew that when I was going to bring a product to market, I wanted to go for something that was going to go big. Okay. I didn't want to go with something that was going to be very small in a very niche market. So I kept coming up, and then I came up with this idea. And it was exactly 2 years ago when the lockdown started. My second grandchild had just been born. I said, okay, let's do this. Let's make it happen. And I was home. I had the time. So I really kind of put everything together, filed my provisional patent, did that whole process, heard David's podcast, reached out to him. Nothing happened. And then again, got busy with some other things.
He was ignoring you.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
No,
I was playing hard to get.
The timing wasn't right, as we discussed, because maybe at the beginning of COVID and the lockdown, they wouldn't have been as enthusiastic. And then honestly, we were on vacation at the beach Labor Day weekend. And I set a goal before I was leaving my vacation at the beach. I was going to reach out to a handful of companies one more time and really pursue it. And I did that Monday afternoon, Labor Day. And yet, David, I think you responded within 24 hours. I must admit, I missed our first meeting with you and Stephen, the president of the company, because we got the times messed up from Eastern and Pacific time. So they're all waiting for me and I'm nowhere to be found. But we reset the meeting and really hit it off right away. And I could tell it was the team that I wanted to work with, just because the communication has been wonderful and we've really worked through it together. And they listened to my idea and what I saw was important, from like doing the research. Do we want 2 fingers? Do we want 1 finger? So it's just been a great journey. But
the 2 finger, 1 finger question.
Well, and even the name. So, I think Ingrid had a name at the beginning, Tidy Touch.
Cute.
Right. And we liked it, but we were, in the world of marketing, naming is obviously really important. And, we always like to have a name that is catchy, but descriptive, right? So that when you hear it, you immediately can sort of conjure up, what does this do? Tidy Touch didn't feel direct enough to us. And then we sort of came up with Baby Glove, and we could not bring it to life. I don't know how many logos we sent to Ingrid. It wasn't working.
I was like, nope.
No, they weren't working. None of them were. And then I sort of stepped back and I was like, all right, it's not Tidy Touch and it's not Baby Glove. And we didn't want to do any research because we did not want to, one of the risks with doing research is you share the idea and, you run the risk that somebody could actually hear about it and do something with it. So we were determined not to do a concept on this product because we thought it was so unique. And, the reality is that this was, it's a patent. Ingrid has a really strong patent, but, in the world of patent protection, they can be gotten around. So we were like, we're going to keep this idea very close to the vest. So then one day we were brainstorming internally and came up with finger shields. And we really liked it because it conveys immediately its benefit. It's a shield for your finger. And then we came up with a catchy, or at least we think catchy logo with the finger. And what we also liked about it is that name can apply to other categories, right? It's not baby specific because this product has benefits beyond baby. So luckily Ingrid and her husband liked it because it was the name we really liked. But
guys, for you guys watching, 9 times out of 10, the company does not use your name. We see it with our students sometimes, but it's really common. And Ingrid was smart. She wasn't like, well, damn it, I'm not going to do this deal if it's not this color, it's not this name. She wasn't doing that.
And when I went into it, I always said I was not set on the name Tidy Touch. And I honestly didn't dwell on the name either when submitting my product because I realized that wasn't the most important part. So I came up with something that I liked. Was I in love with Tidy Touch? No, but was effective enough and it was catchy on my video when I made my prototype video. It was catchy. So you were like, what does that mean? But I never thought it was going to be the final name. So I kind of have my own marketing thought when I came up with that name.
What is one of the biggest takeaway you have for our audience with regards to licensing products when it's your first time around? This is your first time. You've been an inventor like our audience for a long time and coming up with ideas, but actually reaching out to companies is new, right? And so what's your best advice there?
Really to listen. It's important to make a lot of contacts, but when you're talking to people, when you're getting feedback, listen to what they're saying, because not every product is going to be right for the market. Your coach is going to help you with that too. So find something you're passionate about, but don't be so set and stuck on what you're doing. Take the feedback. Maybe you have to adjust your product. I mean, I was lucky with finger shields that this was really it. And I felt like it hit a home run when I came up with it. But I've had other ideas that are all sitting on my desk right now still, and that had many reasons why they didn't make sense. So I always say persistence, but also listening and being flexible.
And doing your research in the micro category, all the other stuff in that space, really. Because when you contact somebody like David, he knows the space of the products that he works in. And so if he's like, well, did you even do some companies, I think they're just, did the inventor even do their research? They Google this for 5 minutes or not? Well, and yeah. That's
what was so interesting with this, because the concept was so basic. I said, this idea has to exist. And I was convinced, or the concept of a finger glove with a tail, because the tail is really what makes it unique. I'm like, this has to be here. And then when I did the patent research and all that, I'm going, it really doesn't. So never dismiss an idea either as being too basic or saying this obviously exists.
As long as it offers a clear benefit, and your product does. Yeah. David, I think you illustrated the other day when we were talking how easy it is to just open the package and stick your finger in there. It's like, it's really convenient. Can you show that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was actually something that we focused first on the product. And then once we felt like, okay, we have the product and we know how to make it, then we focused on the package. We always wanted the package to be easy to use, and even one-handed. So we developed this flap. So you just open it up, and then you can just, you can just slide your finger in. It's a little, oops, sorry.
He did it yesterday. And
I did do it yesterday, and now it's not working as easily. Sorry about that. So you can slide your finger in, and then you can slide it out, and it sort of ends up on your finger like that. So it's the less that are in here, the easier it is because there's more room for your finger. So this is a new package, but that's important, right? We want it to be easy, easy for the consumer to get the product out on their finger and go right into the diaper change.
And it's also nice because the tab is sticky, so it's resealable, so it keeps them clean. But it's not super sticky. It's very clever because when I was impressed the first time I used it because it really pops on and then just keeps coming back on and off, sealing it up. So if you put them in your diaper bag, you're taking them on the go, or they're around the house, it really works well.
Yeah, I mean, it was designed just like a baby wipes package. That same sort of soft material with the resealable flaps. Wipes have it. You know, cookies have it now. You know, Oreos, my favorite. So,
David, companies are always telling us that the sell sheets or marketing materials that they get from InventRight students are so much better than what they get from the general public. Did Ingrid have a good sell sheet, and did that impact how quickly you were able to understand the product?
I believe she did. I have to be honest, I don't remember.
It was a while ago, wasn't it?
It was a while ago, but whatever Ingrid did got my attention. I don't remember if it was a sell sheet or a video or both, but I think the key was she made it really clear what the problem was and the bothersomeness of the problem. So, and the solution and how unique it was. And I'll tell you, you know, it resonated with me because not only because I'm in the baby marketing space, but I have 3 kids and I used A&D ointment. So, and I thought it was a pain in the ass to take off of my fingers and nails, less nails than fingers, obviously. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. Like it was instantaneous. And I immediately said, damn it, why didn't I think of this? Because I like to think of myself as pretty creative. So, you know, I would tell your students, again, start with the core idea. What's the problem? What's the solution? Make it super clear. You don't have to write a book. I don't have time to read a book. Make it super clear, a few bullet points, a sell sheet, a video. Just, you have very few, you know, you don't get that much time, right? You get 15 to 30 seconds. And if you can strike a nerve with the person on the other end, obviously it helps. I had familiarity with this, which clearly helped, but it's not required. It just helped. So Ingrid, what did you send me? I don't really remember.
I sent you both a sell sheet and a video, and I'd actually filmed the video with my daughter, and we used a doll on the video. And then turned out that my daughter's friend, who I knew really well, she did the editing, putting it all together for us. InventRight had helped me with the sell sheet. And so it was all very basic, but, you know, illustrated the idea clearly, effectively. I talked about both the problem it's solving as well as what's out there in the market and why they don't work, or why this is more effective.
And that's good because it shows that you know what the other opportunities or solutions are, and again why yours is better. I'll tell you, Andrew, a lot of times I get sell sheets and it's one tiny additional bell and whistle to an existing product, and I'm like, it's just not differentiated enough. And I think it's a trap that a lot of inventors fall into, which is, oh, well, if I just add X, like let's take Ingrid's product, like finger shields. Like an example would be, okay, I have now printed finger shields, so they're going to be printed instead of white. Like that's not big enough of a differentiation or an idea to get somebody's attention, right? I mean, it would violate her patent, so let's set that to the side. But my point is, like, again, you want something that's really robust, and I get a lot of narrow, niche-y type products or pain points or solutions, and I'm not interested.
And a lot of the times, if the inventor looked at all of their products in that space, they'd realize they don't really have that much of a point of difference. But they think about it a little bit more. Oh, let's make it give a little more oomph. Change it up. So it doesn't mean you necessarily have to ditch the product. It might just mean you need to keep thinking on it to make it just that little bit better.
To keep thinking, but I would tell your students that I think sometimes you get so attached to your idea that you start to believe it's so much more robust than it really is. And that takes on a mind of its own. Sometimes it's good to ask other people, right? Hey, be honest. Is this really differentiated, unique? Is this big enough? You know, you have to sometimes put your ego and pride to the side. And you said it earlier, listen and be open to feedback. Because a lot of ideas, like I said, that come to me are not. And I know I feel awful telling people this, you know, because I know they've invested a lot of time and effort and they feel passionate about it, but you have to be realistic about it too. And the best way to do that is to talk to other people who are not as vested, who can give you honest feedback.
And guys, when a potential licensee like David gives you feedback, thank them. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll think on this. If I can come up with something, I'll let you know. If I can come up with a fix. And take your time and think on it. It might come to you weeks or months later. That's okay. The company will still be there. The marketing manager will still be there. You can reach back out. But I think what David's saying is so true. Become so fixed in your mind as to what the product is, you're inflexible. So inventors are super creative, but then because they've been thinking about it for years, they lose their creativity with that one particular product. So Ingrid and David are offering incredible advice there. And Ingrid knows what she's talking about. She just did this deal with David. So she's a pro now, and we're going to see some more from you, right, Ingrid?
Right now, this is taking pretty much all my time. I also want to, and I'm having a great time working with
I'm going to have a separate talk with you offline about working on more of your projects. So
okay.
You're going to keep going. You're going to keep going.
I think she wants to enjoy being a grandparent for a little bit.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, and I wanted to share one thing because it was really something that meant a lot to me too when we talk about feedback. So when I was trying to license this, I was reaching out to a variety of people. And I actually got a call from one person on a Sunday morning. And he said, you know, this isn't right for us, but keep working on it because you have a really good idea.
Hmm.
And that really meant a lot to me. Sunday morning, I got the call and he said, hey, I just wanted to let you know, this is good, but it's not right for, you know, I can't help you.
Mm-hmm. You know, oddly enough, our students get irritated by that. They're like, well, they said it's not right for us, but it's a really good product. I'm like, why are you irritated by that? You just need to find the right company now.
Yeah.
You know?
No, and that's a really good point because, you know, it's interesting, you know, when Ingrid reached out to us, we were not really in the diapering space. Although as a company, we are the #1 manufacturer of diaper bags. So it wasn't a big leap to make for us. So, you know, be thoughtful about who you reach out to, because if it is too far afield, most companies are probably, like Ingrid heard, going to say it's not in our wheelhouse. You know, and I don't know if Ingrid knew that Baby Bretza was part of the Batesh Group and we were the #1 diaper bag manufacturer. I know I did the inventRight webinar, you know, but, you know, if you have to also feel good, the person you're reaching out to, it makes sense for them strategically. You know, here's what I would share with you. Think of brands in terms of bullseyes. And so the center is where you are today. For the consumer to allow you as a brand to move from the center to the next ring, that's, you know, it's one immediate adjacency in their mind. So if I make like a Formula Pro machine, which is like a baby Keurig, one ring out is a bottle because I use the bottle with the machine, or a descaler to clean the machine. But, you know, I'm not going to necessarily go from machine to a crib. That's many rings out. Yes, they're both related to babies, but now we're going from feeding to sleep and soothing a piece of gear. That's a big leap for the consumer to make. And they don't always give you permission to make that leap. Now, if you're Apple, you can do whatever the heck you want because they have such an amazing brand. And but Apple's define themselves not by a category, they define themselves almost by a lifestyle and a easy technology that makes a difference in your life. So as long as it delivers on that, Apple can extend. But most brands don't spend billions of dollars a year on the brand image. You know, we don't. So we work in adjacencies. And so that's why I'm saying, like, think about where the brand or company that you're targeting is, and is it one adjacency, at most two, from where they are? Because if it's beyond that, I think you're going to be told immediately, not in our wheelhouse, we're not interested.
Right. Wow, you guys have great advice. Ingrid?
But along those lines, I was also going to say, you know, there was one company that I thought for sure this was a great fit because they have a lot of small simple products for the design for the baby market. And I thought, okay, this isn't obvious. I got one of my fastest no thank yous from them. And it was really interesting. It was like, okay, why? And, and I didn't follow up more because by then I was talking to David moving forward and found I had found a better spot to be. But it's also, don't get discouraged when you see something as an obvious fit and they say no. That's okay. There's a company, another one out there, and you never know what's going on internally, why at this point you're not the right fit.
And guys, this is very normal. It's normal for some of our students to have to reach out 7, 8 times before some companies reply. Some 3 or 4. Some, you call up and they're like, oh yeah, that's Bob. He likes email. Send an email the very first time. But that's not usually the case. So what Ingrid experienced with David is very normal. And what I'm always telling you guys is, marketing managers are super busy and overwhelmed with everything they need to do. People in corporate America are doing like 2 or 3 people's jobs. The fact that Ingrid needed to reach out a second time and David accidentally deleted the email is extremely normal. And so be persistent, guys. That's one of the biggest things that Ingrid and David are trying to tell you here. Don't be an obnoxious pest, emailing them every 2 days or anything like that. Do not do that. That'll turn somebody like David off, right, David? I mean, big time.
Yes. No, I mean, you can be persistent, but nice about it. And, you have to be creative too. If you really want to get a response from somebody you personally believe it's right. If email doesn't work, people forget, but there is such a thing as a telephone, and you can call. I in my career, I'll give you a quick example. I helped a friend of mine launch the first liquid filled mint. This is going back a ways. And we read an article that 7-Eleven wanted to be one of the leaders in launching innovative confections products. So we reached out to the guy. I think we left him 1 or 2 voicemails, no response. We FedExed him a product. We sent him a sample and he responded within 2 days. So I only say that because you have to use your creativity to connect with the people you're interested in. Make sure it's right and you're not wasting your time or theirs, but don't just rely on email. I think everybody relies on email and it is not the most reliable medium.
Yeah, LinkedIn, email, phone, other methods. We have some other unique methods we teach our students as well. So I want to thank you, Ingrid and David. You guys are not only really smart people and creative people, but you're also really kind people. You're good people. I know you both very well. And thank you for coming on and sharing your story together. And I hope that we can get more. The fact that David comes on to our YouTube show with the inventor that he licensed the product from says a lot about his company. So and him in particular. Thank you, David.
My pleasure. It's been great. I'm thrilled Ingrid found us, and the product launched last week. So check it out on our website, babybretza.com. And if you have a baby, this product's for you.
Oh, yeah. Ingrid, virtual high five. Here we go. Towards the camera. Here we go. Virtual high five. There we go.
Virtual high five. And I also want to say thank you, because without both of you, without inventRight, without you, David and Baby Brezza, I wouldn't be where I am either, because it really takes a team to get here, because inventRight taught me what to do, how to do it, and you've brought it to life. So I thank everybody on both teams for that.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely. Sweet. All right. Bye. Thank you very much.
Keep inventing. Catch up with you guys next time.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.